Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another exciting, fantastic episode of FPC Radio Live. It's Tuesday, March the 2nd, 2021, and I'm Ian Glendon, of course. And we all know my co-host. How can we not? He's all over the place, Locked On Patriots, FPC Radio Live. He is Mr. Rhode Island. He is Mr. Mike Debate. Mike, how you doing today?
Doing well, buddy. Doing well. Tuesday, March 2nd. We're already into a new month. Yesterday was the first day of the new month. Now we're already ensconced, and always lots to talk about. Certain NFL defensive lineman is a lot richer today than he was just a couple of hours ago, and we'll definitely, I'm sure, talk about that. But a lot of else on the docket today. So without further ado, buddy, let's get right into it.
A lot of else.
A lot of else.
A lot of else. Okay, I'm just making sure I heard that right.
It's like no. You know, it's like Rocky 3 when like when Mr. T goes, "Come on, I got a lot of mo. Got a lot of mo. You know, I got a lot of else. You know, we're trying to we're getting amped up today on NBC
I'm
Radio
glad.
Live.
I'm glad you I'm glad you clarified that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So there's actually so you already kind of mentioned one of the things, obviously the big story of the last 24 hours. We're going to get to that in just a moment. I don't want to I don't want to jump into it too early because there's a couple things I want to talk about. First, John will not be joining us today. He is he's getting vaccinated. For what? I don't know. I'm assuming COVID, but who knows, John? You know, he's our old guy on the show here, and I hope you're listening, John. I actually tried to convince him to go on live while he's getting vaccinated, but I don't think he wanted to. I figured it'd be good content for the show, and maybe maybe it'll encourage some people to get out there and get vaccinated. But good for him. He's going to be talking to us later in the week, probably Thursday, so we're going to have to hold off having some fun with him today. But as we do every show and pretty much whenever we get online here and talk, we kind of always throw in the entertainment and pretty much anything that crosses our mind, music, whatever. You know what I found out yesterday? And it was completely random. I don't even know how I stumbled upon. Oh, actually, no, I know exactly how I stumbled upon it. The actress who played, and I'm a big fan of Lost, the actress who played the French chick, Rousseau, in the show, and I only call her French chick because that's what they referred to her as in the show. I'm not, don't get upset, people, if you take offense to it. She played the French chick. She passed away just a few weeks ago, Mike, and I was surprised because, one, I mean, honestly, I really didn't know much about her outside of this role in the show. Apparently, she was a big star in Babylon 5, which I didn't watch. I'm not saying it was a good or bad show. I really don't know much about it. But Mira Furlan, the French chick, she died of West Nile virus, of all things. Complications due to West Nile virus. Again, I don't know the details. This just happened a few weeks ago. But, what happened was I had stumbled onto Hurley, or Jorge Garcia's, Instagram. And he had posted a picture and a tribute a few weeks ago. And that's what caught my attention because I had no idea. I mean, I honestly, and I kind of feel bad. I didn't know the actress's name. It's tough, especially for a show that came out so long ago, and it's surprising to think that it came out so long ago now. But it's unfortunate to hear that. She wasn't that old.
No, it is
early 60s, I believe.
No, she wasn't actually. Age 65. Believe it or not, her name was Mira Furlan, a native of Croatia, believe it or not. So I know they called her, French chick on Lost. Played Danielle Rousseau, obviously on the series, but she was actually an actress, singer as well, and probably best known for this role, and like you said, her role on Babylon 5, which I wasn't too familiar with. I was never a really big Babylon 5 fan. Not that I disliked the show, I just never really got into it. But Lost was something that I definitely remember her for. Looking this up, she shared the same birthday as my dad, September 7th.
Oh, wow.
5 years later. My dad was September 7th, 1950. Nice. She was 1955. And Yeah, definitely. You hardly see West Nile, be
Mm.
a cause, especially now. But yeah, just too bad. Something that I was not aware of. You had informed me of this right before, very shortly before we went on the air today.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, you remember her. I remember her from Lost, and that's always where. But when you go back and you take a look at the body of work that she put
It's a
out,
very large body of
I
work.
didn't. Yeah, yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know that she was a singer. I didn't know that she
Mm.
was from Croatia and right on the border of Croatia and Yugoslavia, actually from Zagreb.
Mm.
Which, believe it or not, time for
History lesson.
time for one of Mike's anecdotes.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, we had a letter writing campaign to a lot of the troops that were stationed in that area in Zagreb and in the Slavic nations that were fighting a lot of the atrocities that were going on in those areas. And we wrote a lot of letters to the troops that were out in Zagreb. So yeah, that's my connection, I guess, to this story. Not really much of a relevance to what we're going to be talking about today, but when I saw that that was her birthplace, it just kind of triggered that. So, yeah.
Mike, everything is of relevance to us on this show. Remember
that
that.
is true.
Remember
that is
that.
true.
Everything is of relevance because eventually we bring it back to the topic at hand, and that's always usually sports, unless we're deep into the off season, or in the case of last year, going through a 4-month period without any sports at all to talk about. But and I actually saw this is the next thing I'm going to switch to, because a lot of, like I said, I like to see what happened on this day. I like to know who's born, things we could celebrate or mention
Right.
or scoff at or whatever. He's trending for another reason today. I don't know if it's a coincidence or because to some extent it is his birthday, but Dr. Seuss, born in this day, 1904. In Springfield, Massachusetts. He spent a lot of time out in that area. So, but if you're paying attention on Twitter or social media or in the news, he is trending for other reasons, as there are movements to remove some of his books and writings because of racial undertones and all that. I just started reading some of the story this morning, so I don't know all the details. I'm not gonna get into it really, but it was just, I don't know if it was a coincidence that he just happened to be trending on his birthday, or the two were related, and this kind of spurred the story. But another historical mention: Mikhail Gorbachev, also born today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, I'm really going. I went down a rabbit hole yesterday, Mike. I just like to learn. I like to figure out things. I want to know who was born on what day. Daniel Craig too. really hitting all corners of the spectrum here, from leaders of the USSR to children's book writers and James Bond.
And James
today.
Bond, yeah. You never hear them mentioned in the same sentence that often, but
no.
That's what we're all about here on NBC Radio Live, giving you all the information you never knew you wanted
or needed, really. Because I hope,
well, let's face it, do we really provide anything that people need? I mean,
well, if you're out, having a day, you run into someone, you have a conversation, maybe it comes up, today happened to be Dr. Seuss's birthday, and you're thinking, oh wait, how did I hear that? Oh yeah, FPC Radio Live, because they talk about whatever the hell comes across their minds, whatever's important at the time. But like I said, we always tend to bring it back to sports somehow, and there's also another anniversary today, sports related. Do you know what it is, Mike? Do you know what it is? I would, let's just say I will write you a check for $1,000 right now if you no, but you have to tell me in 5 seconds, because I don't want you to look it up. What happened today in sports?
I need you to tell me, so
Okay.
I will absolutely. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I'm like, man, I'm really backing myself into a corner here, because you could have, look, if you put this day in sports history, it's one of the most infamous moments in all of sports anyway. Wilt Chamberlain, 100 points scored today.
Wow.
1962.
Well, that was today.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. So, see, this is what happens. We bring it all back to sports.
Absolutely. Yeah, putting me on the spot, I would not have guessed that. So that's good. You are $1,000 still, richer, I guess, in
Well, I said 1,000, and then I was like, oh god, I better put some caveats here, because I feel like if you would have done a simple search, you would have come up to that, and then yeah, well then I would have been kind of in a pickle, because all the listeners heard it. But anyways, it's been 15 minutes, and I have yet to mention, folks, we want to hear from you. If you have any other nonsense, any other thoughts, we're going to get talking about J.J. Watt here in a minute. And, if you have any thoughts on the contract, please give us a call. Send us a text, 626-310-8882. Just for the folks out there that like a little flashiness, here we go. You are listening to Full Press Radio. Call or text the show at 626-310-8882. That's right. I figured might as well mix that in. Get people's attention, grab their attention a little bit. But no, we do want to hear from you. We're like I said, we want to interact more with the listeners out there, whether it's through our feeds on Twitter or Twitch or Facebook or YouTube, or just by talking to you. Because hey, we'd love to chat with you. But anyways, let's get back to the topic at hand, because obviously this is the biggest story coming into today. J.J. Watt, 2 years, $31 million with the Arizona Cardinals. And right off the bat, the Cardinals, again, maybe this was a product of us just believing what we read on Twitter, but the Cardinals kind of came out of nowhere. But like we were talking about last week, like $15 or $16 million for J.J. Watt right now, I think is a great overpay. Not great as in great job, as in like he's greatly overvalued at that number right now for a guy who, did he play 16 games last year? Yeah, he did. But he's only played 48 over the last 5 seasons, and I just don't know. I feel like that's too much money, and I don't think that this signing is necessarily going to be the slam dunk that people look at it right off the bat. What are your thoughts?
No, I would definitely agree with you on that. I think that, first of all, you look at this deal and you look at the 2 years, $31 million. We heard all up and down that the most important thing to JJ was contending for a Super Bowl, contending for a championship. And Arizona does have the ability to contend.
Sure.
I think we saw them last year. This is a team that, it's not like he's going to a bargain basement team or a bottom of the barrel team that he just went and chased the cash grab. I saw a lot of people say that yesterday. I know a certain team up in Buffalo is not too happy with J.J. Watt right now. They had a lot of interesting things to say on their Twitter feeds, meaning Bills Mafia yesterday, about this. This is not that disingenuous to me. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, JJ's a hypocrite. He just chased the money and that was it. Yeah, obviously, I think money was the tipping factor, but he does have the ability to go into Arizona and contend. This is a team that is on the cusp of that, and they've got a lot of good young talent. I think that Arizona overpaid, and I think that's why they ended up with him. I think you're seeing a lot of teams, maybe a Green Bay, maybe a Buffalo, maybe teams that were in contention. Cleveland, I guess, is another team that a lot of people had, rumored JJ to be, or had, rumored that JJ was in on, these teams. But all things aside, that this guy right now is, he's on the wrong side of 30. Let's face that. And, there are times where it's going to be a difficult sell if he struggles with health or if he's on the downward, trajectory of his career. So right now, I think in a lot of ways, what you're looking at is an Arizona Cardinals defense that right now has a lot of different options. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he is going to pair alongside Chandler Jones and how these guys are going to be able to form a very, very fearsome pass rush tandem. But at the same time, Arizona definitely paid a hefty price. This is one that's going to have to pay off for them, and they're going to have to contend sooner rather than later.
Well, look, if Arizona got J.J. Watt from 2011 to 2015, his first 5 seasons in the league, this would have been an absolute steal, and you could sit there and say could be the most ferocious pass rush we've seen in quite some time. We just saw a pretty damn good one win a Super Bowl. In those first 5 seasons of J.J. Watt's career, 80 games potentially started in the regular season. He played all 80 of those games. 74.5 sacks, 299 tackles, 132 tackles for losses, and 209 quarterback hits credited via Pro Football Reference, and he averaged 14.9 or 15 sacks a season in those 5 seasons. Fantastic. There's a reason why he was obviously defensive player of the year, but in contention for an MVP award. He was that good. However, 2016 to 2020, he's only twice in these next 5 seasons has he played 16 games. In total, 48 out of a potential 80 games over those 5 seasons. Only 26.5 sacks, 110 tackles, only 40 tackles for losses, 73 quarterback hits, and he's only averaged 5.3 sacks a season since then. That's a guy who just got paid based on his reputation and not what he's worth, in my opinion. And again, I say this without any hope that he gets injured, but with just a realistic view of it. Like, yeah, you're paying him basically $16 million a season to play probably 8 or 9 games, and I don't think that's unfair to suggest. I mean, especially at this point in his career and based on his history. And I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh, you know. We'll see. Maybe I could be wrong about this, but I think this is my initial reaction was, wow, this could be pretty good pairing him up with Chandler Jones. I've slept on it. I've thought about it more, and I think this is a bad signing. The name recognition is great, but I think at the end of the day, Cardinals fans, the Cardinals, they're going to look at this as not a great signing for this team.
Well, what this signing does for the Arizona Cardinals is it gives them the opportunity to have 2 formidable pass rushers, one of which who really, dare I say, can't be double teamed anymore. I mean, and Jordan Phillips put this out yesterday. Who are you going to double team now? Was the tweet that he put out with the skull and crossbones. And when you dive into the numbers and you dive into the win rates, and all of a sudden this looks very, very formidable. Last season in Houston,
so did Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt.
Yeah, exactly.
And neither could ever stay on the field for. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That was the problem.
And both of them had trouble, as well as Chandler Jones. He has had some injury trouble as well. So again, to me, this is Texans 2.0, and we even at their peak. And this was Texans 2.0 when J.J. Watt was actually, still in his quote unquote prime. This is post prime J.J. Watt now. So sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, it's okay. Assuming health, because that's always the X factor. That's an X factor with anybody. You start getting injuries along these defensive and offensive lines for any team, and you're going to see teams decline. You're going to see teams that are going to have difficulty, executing the way they want to execute. But assuming health, last season, J.J. Watt had a pass rush win rate of 20.4. In 2019, which was Chandler's last full season, he was 17.8. JJ's rate increased to 22.9 last season when he played the 9 technique. That's when a defensive lineman will line up on the outside shoulder of a tight end. This is an area that he was very effective. If you try to double Chandler Jones, that leaves J.J. Watt open in that 9 technique. And the Arizona Cardinals love to employ that. This is something from a pure football standpoint that if these 2 guys are healthy, I cannot wait to watch this season because it's going to be fun and it's going to be very difficult for quarterbacks to be able to read and find out exactly how they're going to be able to navigate through this and evade the pass rush, especially if they're going to have holes along their offensive line. Right now, you're looking at teams like Tampa Bay. You're looking at teams like Los Angeles, teams like Green Bay. The contending teams in the NFC right now that are going to make sure that their offensive lines are shored up as much as possible. Tampa had a very good offensive line this year. They'll continue that prowess. Green Bay did at times. I think they're going to look to make sure that's shored up. Los Angeles is going to have to, make sure that their offensive line is solid as well because Arizona is going to be able to bring the heat. The question is, can JJ stay healthy? Can Chandler Jones stay healthy? If these 2 guys are healthy at the same time and they're playing more often than not, the Arizona Cardinals just did get a lot better because say what you will about JJ Watt, even maybe losing a step, he's still, a cut above a lot of other players at his position. So I'll take the glass half full in this regard. If Arizona is all in and they're looking to try to contend right away, this could be a good signing. But if they think that their window is still more than 2 years away, and it's hard to argue right now that it might be, then I agree with you. Then you're falling into this not being a good signing. So a lot of it is going to depend on what Arizona does in advance of this signing to help shore up some of the other holes that they have on the roster because they've got a good young nucleus. Now it's about putting it all together.
See, I think that's more hoping for finding lightning in a bottle. That's my opinion. I feel like that is ideal. Like, I would love to see a healthy J.J. Watt and a healthy Chandler Jones because, like you said, it would be fun to watch from regardless of what teams you root for. It's just fun to see that type of defense. I mean, trust me, I had a lot of fun watching the Super Bowl. Not so much Chiefs fans, but I enjoyed it, and I think other folks could enjoy just the relentless pass rush, and there's a chance you can get it. I feel like that's a scenario. That's one of maybe 100 scenarios that could happen, and I think the other 99 aren't as rosy and good. So
yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. And not for anything, but people need to remember, myself included, Chandler Jones is right now on the hook for a $20.8 million cap hit in 2021. That's a very high number, folks. Mm-hmm. Look for them to try to reduce that, especially coming off of the bicep injury. You have to think that Arizona is going to be on the phone with Chandler, selling him on this move and saying, you want to pair up with J.J. Watt, you want to be a formidable tandem as a pass rush in this league, then we're going to need you to reduce that salary because we're going to need the cap space to bring in other complementary pieces. That could be an interesting wrinkle in all of this as well. So a lot of layers to this signing. Well, right on the surface, it looks good for Arizona. All of a sudden, they're back on the mat, but there are a lot of layers there. I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off.
No, it's fine. But that's the thing too. And you mentioned one of those layers being the salary cap. You have to shed salary now because you cannot fit J.J. Watt under their current situation. I mean, they're not a team that's ripe with salary cap space. So again, do I think it's an overpay? Absolutely. Am I more pessimistic than I am optimistic? Absolutely. Do I think you're essentially paying for 8 or 9 games at J.J. Watt? That's what I'm banking on, and I do think that the situation that you laid out is what I think I want to see because again that means fun football, fun watching the Cardinals. But I just don't think we're going to get that. I think that would be lightning in a bottle, like I said. That would be the one thing where everything bounced your way, and I just don't think that you can bank on that. I don't know. Again, I like it. I think it's an exciting move, but it may be more Emmitt Smith to the Cardinals than Reggie White to the Packers. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it's closer to one of those moves than what I think people want to see it as a la Reggie White, who went to Green Bay and obviously helped them win a Super Bowl. I don't think the Cardinals are on the cusp of winning a Super Bowl. I think they're an improving, better team, and I'm excited to see how they grow. I just think there's too many teams in front of them. And again, they're going to have to get better in other areas. And, what do you get from J.J. Watt? Well, we'll see. Maybe for them, maybe he'll be able to at least finish out the season and have an impact in the playoffs because I think that would be obviously the biggest advantage for them. But, you would have to get there first. So how do you think Russell Wilson feels after all this? Because, assuming, let's assume, let's make a couple assumptions. Let's assume your scenario plays out. J.J. Watt's healthy. Chandler Jones is healthy. And even at 75% of what J.J. Watt was, the combination of the two is a formidable duo. Now, they're going to need some help inside and, other complementary pieces on that defense, but that's a really good start right there. And you can wreak havoc just with those two, regardless of what else you have. And, you can fill in the pieces elsewhere. Russell Wilson, if you're a guy that, to this point is being sacked to a, ungodly amount of times. You're seeing another team in your division get a little bit more formidable, again, assuming the best case scenario for the Cardinals, getting a little bit more formidable on the pass rush. A team that was already talented and a division that in general just has a lot of great pass rushers and a lot of great talent on defensive lines. If you're Russell Wilson, you wake up today saying, you know what? There's nothing that has made me soften my stance on, if this is true, wanting out of Seattle because of the whole situation. In fact.
Oh, no. I don't think you get me. I want out permanently.
Yes.
Cosmo Kramer,
Yes.
always the
Wants
voice of
out
reason here on
permanently.
FBC Radio Live. But.
Yeah. No, realistically though, we're not saying that Russell Wilson's looking at the potential difficulty facing him and he wants to run from it. No, he's been running from that his whole career, based on the fact that the team around him hasn't been built adequately enough. Outside of the beginning of his career, where again that team was perfectly built, coming with a lot of younger players that kind of just came together and all that. Got to 2 Super Bowls, all that fun stuff. That hasn't been the case for the Seahawks. That was 2014. That was their second Super Bowl appearance. That was a long time ago now, especially in football terms. This team doesn't look like it's getting much better from a foundation standpoint. And by that I mean offensive line and just the philosophy of the team. And if you believe the reports out there that Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, there's a clash of minds going on here, then you know what? This move that the Cardinals made probably further pushes Russell Wilson to be like, you know what? I really just don't want to be here anymore. I want to go somewhere where I have a chance to, have a great second half of his career. Because right now he has really good first half. It's lacking a little bit for sure. He's not on pace to be the greatest of all time or one of the all-time greats. He's had a really nice first half of his career. He can make a whole bunch more. He can increase his legacy with a great second half of his career, and it's possible if he goes to the right team. Because I don't think Seattle's moving off from Pete Carroll anytime soon. He signed that extension this season. I predicted prior to last season that this was going to be his last year in Seattle. And you know what? Probably should have been. If this is what's going to cause you to lose your franchise quarterback, and say what you want about Russell Wilson, he's one of the I'm being very, one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league, arguably top 5. Let's say top 5. I think 10's a little disrespectful. Top 5 quarterback in the league. You hold on to that guy, especially at his age. He still has some time left. So I don't know. I don't think this does Seattle fans any favors if they're ones that want Russell Wilson to stay. I think the chatter, quote unquote, is going to increase not only for him but for Deshaun Watson too, because let's switch back to the Texans. Deshaun Watson is all of a sudden the odd man out. All these guys, DeAndre Hopkins, J.J. Watt, they're gone. See ya. Adios. Deshaun Watson's still there, and the Houston Texans are still dysfunctional as far as I know. So, but real quick, your thoughts on Russell Wilson. Do you think this changes anyway? Does it increase his urgency to want to get out? Does pretty much everything kind of stay the same, how you feel? Or does this somehow, in some upside-down logical way, make him want to stay in Seattle?
I don't think it really makes him want to stay in Seattle. First of all, it's just one more, cog in that division right now for him to be able to compete. And look, if Russell is very serious about wanting to get back and compete for another championship, you're looking at the Los Angeles Rams getting much better. You're looking at the Arizona Cardinals getting much better. Don't sleep on the San Francisco 49ers. This is a team 2 years ago that was within an eyelash of winning a Super Bowl title. They have a formidable defense there in San Francisco. They still have a very vaunted running attack. I think they still have a decent quarterback capable of getting them to win games. I know a lot of people have soured on Jimmy Garoppolo, but I still have faith in him that he's able to lead that team. If you're Seattle right now, if you're Russell Wilson, you're looking at Seattle and you're looking at what they're doing. If they're not going to bring in the type of talent around you that you feel is necessary for you to do your job effectively, then you're going to want out. And I think that's the way it is. I think it makes it a little more likely that he's going to want out now. With regard to Deshaun Watson, I don't think there's any question. I think everybody knew he wanted out from the get-go. I think J.J. Watt's signing in Arizona makes it clear that he clearly wanted out of Houston. There was the ability, there was the thought process of wanting to chase a ring, maybe get a little bit more money. But to me, this also reeked of him just wanting to get out of Houston. And in that regard, I think it makes it more likely that both of these quarterbacks are on the move. I think just about 100% certainty that Deshaun Watson will be on the move. And I'd say probably more likely than not, that Russell Wilson might be on the move now. And just 24 to 48 hours ago, I would have said the opposite. I would have said he's much more likely to stay with Seattle. As a matter of fact, I think I said that yesterday here on FBC Radio Live. So, it's funny how a signing and a move like this can have such a domino effect throughout the league. You're going to see that a lot this season, this offseason, I should say, as we build toward the new league year in 2021.
Yeah, which is at this point only 14, 15 days away. And however you want to consider, if you're counting this day or starting with tomorrow, whatever. It's the 17th. Today's the 2nd. Figure it out.
Right. Yeah.
Basically 2 weeks
well,
from now.
everyone up in New England will remember March 17th infamously. And no disrespect to St. Patrick's Day. It's a shame that it had to happen on a day like that. But that's not going to be remembered
the
as
announcement.
A really warm and fuzzy day. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a fond memory for fans of fans of New England. Yeah. It's not quite the sad tone that I was seeking, but you get the idea. Tom Brady announcing that he was departing the New England Patriots. We covered that a little bit yesterday, and I'm sure we'll get into that on the 17th. Maybe we'll squeeze that in as we start talking about the new league year. But I'm right there with you. There's a possibility that we're going to see 2 of arguably the 5 best quarterbacks in the league get moved. After already seeing guys like Matt Stafford and Jared Goff move, and last year obviously with Brady and Phillip Rivers and all that, so it's a pretty wild time for a quarterback. One guy we know will be with a new team next season, that's Alex Smith. Reports are that Washington is going to release him, which isn't coming as too much as a surprise. We kind of talked last week about some of the comments he made about how he felt the Washington football team viewed him and whether or not they wanted him there or not. It looks like he's going to be looking for a new home. Now, naturally, again, I think about teams that are in the market for quarterbacks. And one of them, New England Patriots, pops into mind. Obviously, other teams that could potentially Carolina, whether or not they want to move on from Teddy Bridgewater. The list goes on. There's other opportunities out there. Where do you think he ends up? Because, of all the free agent quarterbacks, outside of, again, Cam Newton, I could see the Patriots using Alex Smith as the quote unquote bridge quarterback. And I wouldn't be too upset about that. I don't think it's necessarily going to happen because, again, I do believe that Cam Newton is going to be back. What are your thoughts on Alex Smith, and what do you think is a good landing spot for him?
I think New England would be a good landing spot, but I don't think that's going to be his landing spot. If I'm being honest, to me, the one that makes the most sense is to go to Jacksonville, to be the bridge quarterback in Jacksonville, bringing in a guy like Trevor Lawrence, having him learn from someone like Alex Smith and being a mentor. I think is his most effective ability this year. Look, Alex Smith was a phenomenal story. I am so happy to see him back walking again. I'm so happy to see him back on the football field. I root for him every time he puts on shoulder pads. That will not change regardless of where he goes, even if he goes to the Jets, which I don't think will happen, but whatever. I mean, it's very, very difficult for me to root for anyone wearing that uniform, but you get the point. But bottom line, I think in a mentorship role, a role where he's not going to be required to be a 16-game regular season quarterback right through start to finish, is going to be the best option for Alex Smith, because we don't know, how his, health is going to hold up. There's still a large question mark regarding that. And I know Alex has the heart of a champion. He has the heart of, wanting to compete, be at the top of his game. I wouldn't put anything past him, and I definitely wouldn't say that he's not capable of doing it. But I think that's the reason why New England may look for another option, maybe a Cam Newton, maybe another option. Who knows? Maybe if Alex Smith ends up in Jacksonville, who knows? Maybe that frees up Gardner Minshew. He ends up in New England. We're hearing a lot of chatter about that. Talked about that yesterday on Locked On Patriots. I'm kind of, lukewarm on that idea. I really, a couple of weeks ago, I really wasn't warm to it at all, but it makes a little bit more sense now. There are a lot of dominoes that need to fall, but ultimately, I think Alex is going to be best suited in a situation that he's not looked upon to carry the major load at quarterback. If he comes to New England, that's going to be the case, because I don't see Jarrett Stidham being the understudy for him, and being someone that could learn from him. Cam Newton, I don't think they'd bring those two guys in and have them compete. It makes no sense. So at that point, if you're bringing in Alex Smith, if you're in New England, he's going to be your guy. And maybe he can handle the load, maybe he can't. But ultimately, I think the better fit for him is a place where he can go and be a complementary piece and a mentor to a young quarterback.
Yeah, look, I mean that would be the ideal situation. Jacksonville would make sense, like you said. New England again. I don't think it's terribly nonsensical.
I don't think it's nonsensical at all. I think it's possible. At the end of the day, I just don't think it's likely, but it wouldn't shock me.
No,
and I wouldn't say it's a bad move.
Exactly. I mean, it's like that's a move that I could live with. I've said it before. I don't know if I'm necessarily. I'm not in the Jimmy G camp, and I do believe that he's going to be back in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I'm not. I wasn't fond of some of these the Marcus Mariotas of the world. Like I don't really want that. Like if you're going to make a move for a quarterback like that, I'd rather stick with Cam Newton, a guy that we know at the very least has had a year in the system and could build off of that. But also we know he has the in locker room attitude to deal with New England. So Alex Smith is a guy I believe that could do that just based on his history and his just his length of his career. But again, you have a ceiling with Alex Smith, as you do with Cam Newton. I think the potential with Cam Newton would be higher. Although, again, that's kind of like the J.J. Watt thing. You kind of have to catch lightning in a bottle, expect lightning in a bottle if you're counting on a 2015 redux from Cam Newton. I do think that we're going to get better quarterback play out of him, assuming he's the Patriots starting quarterback in 2021. But Alex Smith is a guy that I would certainly entertain and would not be upset if the Patriots decided to go that route. Although again, you would have to make sure that your expectations are realistic. Like if the Patriots go out and sign Alex Smith and all of a sudden your expectations become, this team is going to the Super Bowl. Well, guess what? You're going to be disappointed. You're going to wind up hating Alex Smith by the end of the season because that shouldn't be a realistic goal. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying don't, set yourself up for disappointment or failure. You just got to look at the situation like it is. And this is the team that is transitioning. How far they have to transition and how deep they have to go in this rebuild, I think still remains to be seen. We're going to have a better idea once these players get back on the field. I'm talking the Dante Hightowers, the Patrick Chungs of the world. Let's see where this team is, and before we start saying, this team needs to be torn down and started over with. No, this could just be, you have to live with a little bit of mediocrity for a season or two. Hey, that's the cost of winning 20, I wish. The cost of success for 20 years and winning 6 Super Bowls. You got to pay the price at some point. And if the price means, you have 2 or 3 mediocre seasons in a row, well, I can live with that because, there's a lot of teams that had far less success and had far worse, quote unquote, mediocre seasons than the Patriots. So, I do think that, fans, especially if the Patriots, have to have realistic expectations and goals for this team. Everyone's going to say, we plan on winning the Super Bowl every year. Of course you do. No athlete goes in and says, I'd rather finish last. No one says that. You go in, you think, you believe, or you should believe that you can win every game and win the Super Bowl. It's not that easy. Obviously, there's talent disparities, there's coaching disparities, there's tons of stuff. I think this Patriots team can compete. I just don't know what it's going to be yet, because we're obviously going to get those players back. But now, whether or not you believe the source, there has been some quote unquote chatter about a potential trade of Stephon Gilmore. Now, based on who said it, I tend to be very skeptical. However, if you think about it, absent the source, and you just think about the actual thought of trading Stephon Gilmore, that's not a move that would surprise me. I would be shocked but not surprised, if that makes sense. Because it's the Patriots, and we've seen them make moves like this. And when you think about it, Stephon Gilmore's kind of in that territory where he could become a very valuable asset, especially with a team that has a lot of depth at that position. And I look mainly at J.C. Jackson as being a cornerstone cornerback. So how much credibility, and I'm going to kind of shift right into that there, Mike, because I brought it up, but how much credibility do you give to that rumor? And do you think it could be a potential possibility for the Patriots to move on from the 2019 Defensive Player of the Year?
I take the credibility at face value. There's a lot of chatter going around about Stephon Gilmore in circles that I run with, and sources that I've talked to. There is some smoke to smoke to that fire, or fire to that smoke, I guess is the
That's
best
like
way to put it.
5 cliches in about 30 seconds. That's pretty impressive.
I'm sorry?
I said that was about 5 cliches in about 30 seconds. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, you got to like that, know. But I think that's pretty much where I stand on Stephon. You hit the nail on the head in a lot of respects. If you do move on from Stephon Gilmore, you have someone like J.C. Jackson waiting in the wings. The expectation is that he is ready to be that shutdown number one type corner that you need to anchor a defense. We saw him struggle at times in that role last year. Does he need a little bit more seasoning? I think he would. I really and truly believe that he would. And that's from someone that is a big fan of J.C. Jackson, a very big fan of his game. I really love the way this kid plays. He's ball hawking. He's got that aggressive nature. To me, one of the better cover corners in the league right now. But he struggled at times being the number one guy. And if you have someone like Stephon Gilmore on staff that can be able to cultivate that, give him the example, and help him to move into that, it's difficult to say that it's easy to move on from someone like that. I don't expect Stephon to stay at the current cap number that he's at. I believe he's scheduled to make about $16 million this year. If that is the case, that's a hell of a hit. And I believe that the Patriots will try to knock that down a little bit. Now, it's got to be beneficial for both sides. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, the Patriots can force him to do that. No, Stephon's got to agree to it. He's under contract. So the Patriots have to pay him. If they want to keep him on staff and Stephon doesn't want to lower that number, then they're at a stalemate and they're at an impasse. If that's the case, then I believe Stephon Gilmore is gone. I don't think that they will be paying him that number this year for one more year. That's when they'll look to move on. But if he's willing to maybe drop down to 13, 14 million, then I think both sides can work something out. And I think they'll be able to do that. If not, like I said, it makes perfect sense, like you said, that they'll move on from him. The question is, what are they going to get? Do you move on from him prior to the draft, increase your draft capital, get as much as you can now? Is there an NFL-ready player to be had for Stephon Gilmore? Is he the centerpiece in a trade that you try to lure somebody in? There's a lot of different options that the Patriots can have right now. Gilmore's value is still very high. It probably took a little bit of a hit because of his injury, but it's still high. You have to wonder, is this the opportunity for the Patriots to strike while the iron is hot? Because as much as it pains me to say this, I don't see Stephon Gilmore sticking around past next season unless the Patriots work out a long-term extension that's beneficial for both sides. And right now, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, look, Joel texted in, and I appreciate that. If you guys want to get in on the conversation, 626-310-8882. Joel says what I was thinking, and that is you have to if you're going to move him, you move him before the draft, because I think the biggest asset that you can get back in a trade for Stephon Gilmore would be draft capital. I don't see I know we've seen more of them, or at least it feels like we've seen more player for player trades lately. But I still don't think that there is enough value that, this is taking the mystery box. You can either have the boat or, well, I don't know if there's any boats out there. But you know what I'm saying. You can have that, or you can have the mystery box, and that's the draft picks. Because you don't necessarily know what you're getting with the draft picks. They're nice and all, but you could, obviously, as we've we've heard people complain about, you could take the wrong guy and then it means you absolutely get nothing for the guy. But if you are going to move on from him, if you are planning on moving on from him, you absolutely have to do it before the draft. And potentially, ideally, maybe right as the league year opens, because you want to be able to utilize maybe that newfound cap, whether it's a restructuring of another player's contract or signing a free agent. Because, again, this team does have some cap space. And if you move on from Stephon Gilmore, you're going to have even more of it. And perhaps a lot more flexibility when it comes to kind of reshaping and retooling this team. And would it be disappointing to see him go? Absolutely. I'm a big fan of Stephon Gilmore. Great player. He's been worth every single penny that he's been paid, and he would be worth it if he stayed. This isn't an example of this guy's starting to fall off, I want to trade him. No, this is just trying to think like the Patriots and think like, how they run their organization. And it just seems logical for them to maybe a season or two early move on from Stephon Gilmore when they know they have some pretty good talent in the wings and already making some impact at the NFL level. So yeah, I'm definitely for getting the deal done now sooner rather than later if you're going to do it. Don't wait until middle of the summer to trade them, because again, that devalues what you're trying to do. And yeah, do you ultimately maybe gain cap space? Sure, but at the end of the day, I'll be good either way. Like I said, if they move on from him, I know that they're focusing, they're looking at J.C. Jackson, and they see what a lot of people see, or at least in New England, because the guy didn't even get a sniff for the Pro Bowl, at first, or wasn't really recognized on many lists of top corners. But any Patriot fan knows that guy is he's a player, he's a baller, and does he have moments of vulnerability? Sure. Absolutely. But for the most part, he's played some really good football, and he seems to get an interception pretty much every game.
Yeah, I mean, he's always in the right spot at the right time. That's the case, and that's not by happenstance. That's by design. This kid is he's got a nose for the football and where it needs to be. And I love the aggression that he plays with. Like I said, there is still some skill that needs to be refined there, and maybe he takes that step this year. Maybe he's worked in the offseason to be able to do it, and maybe he doesn't need someone like Stephon Gilmore on the opposite side of him right now to help shoulder the load. I agree with you. If you're going to move him, that's what I would do. I would definitely move him before the draft. You want to maximize what you get back. If you move Stephon after the draft, unless it's an NFL ready player, you're not getting that value. You're not seeing that value until 2022. And then at that point, what good is it to cut him loose other than just to get some cap space? And that's not something the Patriots are struggling with this year. So if you're going to move Stephon Gilmore and you want to maximize his value, you definitely do it before the draft. Good point by you. Good point by Joel.
Of course. That's all I do is make great points, Mike. You should know this by now. You should know this by now. Did you know? We're gonna kind of put a lid on that topic because we don't have much time.
Probably not. I don't know much, so probably not.
Did you know that apparently Reese's is coming out with a double peanut butter Reese's cup? It's like peanut butter within peanut butter. It's peanut butterception. Does that make sense? Peaception? Yeah, that sounds kind of.
So it's a peanut butter cup made out of a peanut butter shell with peanut butter inside it.
Yes.
Can't I just have a jar of peanut butter and just call it a day?
Well, I mean, I would assume that there's a variety of texture when it comes to this combination. So it's not just like peanut butter on top of peanut butter. It's the Reese's peanut butter innards and maybe peanut butter hardened a bit to mimic chocolate. I don't know. I mean, it's curious. I'll try it. I'll be honest. That's what, hey, if I had to pick one chocolate in the world to just, live off, easily Reese's. Easily. Don't overthink
absolutely.
it. Don't overthink
Reese's
it.
peanut butter, yeah. Every year on Locked On Patriots, I always do the GOAT of Halloween candy. And Reese's peanut butter cups are just like, they're so far and above.
I'm holding up a pack right now. It's been sitting in front of my computer. I've been eyeballing it this whole show, just waiting to just scoff them down like the second we get off the air. So I'm with you, man. If you ever want to, make my day, send me Reese's. I will. I have very good self-control when it comes to not eat. Like, I don't eat a lot of candy. I'm not like I don't have a huge sweet tooth. But good God, you put a bag of family share Reese's cups in front of me, and that thing will be gone in a matter of about a day. And that's with me holding back, using every ounce of self-respect just to keep myself from just wolfing them all down. So, but I will try out the peanut butter, the new fashion of it. It should be interesting. It might be a little too peanut buttery, but I like peanut butter. I mean, how can
well, you know
like
what? I think we'll indulge. You know what? Maybe we should. Maybe this should be like homework when it comes out. We'll both venture out, grab these, and then we'll talk about it here on FPC Radio Live. Our opinion on peanut butter cups.
Yes.
We're hitting all new heights or lows, depending on how you look at it here on FPC Radio Live.
Because that's what I envisioned my job being 20 years ago when I was in high school doing real homework. Talking about what are you going to be when you grow up? Well, I'm going to have homework when I'm older, but it's going to be eating Reese's cups and talking about it. That's right,
and talking about it on the web radio.
Yeah, that's right. The what? The what now? The web? What's the web? Spider web?
What is the web?
Actually, 20 years. We still had. Oh yeah, we were kind of good. 20.
We had web in high school. We weren't that archaic. Well, at least you definitely not. I mean, me, I wasn't that archaic. I still had web in high school. It wasn't great. It was it was dial up. And here all these years later, here in Rhode Island, nothing has changed with my $3 internet. So
it's actually gone backwards. No, I think we had computer labs. Now I remember when I was in elementary school. We got a computer lab, I think, when I was in 5th grade. It was brand spanking new, whole, get up. And, we're actually floppy, like real floppy disk, not like the 3.5, whatever. So I think we had some form of, not that we ever used it. We did it more for typing and stuff in elementary school. But it wasn't like it was today where kids go to kindergarten with iPads, like a little bit different. Back in my day.
Back in my day.
Yeah, Mike's the resident old guy, especially when John's not here with us. As I mentioned earlier, I believe he's getting vaccinated for COVID. If it's for something else, I don't know. Maybe he's a werewolf. Comes out, every full moon, maybe he's getting vaccinated for that. I don't know. I don't want to make an assumption. I don't want to start rumors. Actually, maybe I do. Maybe we can start a rumor. He's not here to defend it. Why not? Let's just start a rumor, Mike, and see.
Yeah, I guess that's possible. Yeah, we could.
No, but unfortunately, we don't have enough time in the show to do that adequately enough. So we're gonna have to. John will survive yet another day. So, and in fact, if we are going to start a rumor, I should probably manufacture some evidence to support our rumor as well. So I'll get on that today, and we'll get that started tomorrow. So by the time he comes on the show on Thursday, he'll have to answer all these questions that I've made up based on a made up scenario involving him. Good. Should be good. Yeah. Should make for good entertainment. Thanks for listening, folks. Remember, give us a follow on Twitter at FPC Radio Live. I am at IGLEN31. Mike, of course, is at MDABATEFPC. Download the app. It's free, available on the Apple and Google Play stores. If you wanted to call in today, but you're a little bit nervous, but you'd rather leave a voicemail, feel free to keep calling the number. It doesn't matter. It's open 24/7. 626-310-8882. Leave us a voicemail, and we will maybe we'll play it. Maybe we'll comment on it. Maybe we'll burn it if it's not something that we're allowed to play on the air. Who knows? We'll see. But anyways, we'll be back tomorrow 9 a.m. Talk more sports, more whatever, and see you then.